I'm Terry Coleth. I'm here today with Professor Kerr, and we are looking at his next offering in the Academy of Lifelong Learning. And he's going to be really close to home, but far away. A short history of the planet Earth.
Hi, Terry.
Hi.
Hi. We're going to start off with the scientific theory, I should stress, of how the bits and pieces that we see in the sky came about. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Big Bang, and then we're going to talk, more interestingly, about how the solar systems were created and how many there are. And I think people will find it absolutely amazing that there are billions and billions of galaxies and billions of solar systems. So it leads us into thinking that we are not alone, but of course we've been looking for people outside our solar system for 60 years now, and not a squeak have we heard.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what do you think about, I mean, these the technology is getting so much better.
Yeah.
It's almost unbelievable to imagine what it'll be a long time before we know.
It's interesting, just in our lifetimes almost, that Einstein came up with a bunch of crazy ideas,
right,
of time and space and gravity, and it was purely theoretical. And now, slowly, because of our instrumentation and our analysis and our spacecraft, which are going further and further afield, every single year goes by, we find another piece of his thinking being supported. And of course, most recently, the whole subject of black holes, which have been around for 30 years or so, they have come into sharp focus because we realize that they exist. First of all, we've seen pictures of them, or we can see their impact on the area around them. That's how we see black holes. But it's interesting to remember that the galaxy that we live in, the Milky Way, is only there because there's a supermassive black hole in the center holding all these solar systems, and we are one solar system on a spiral arm, an insignificant part of the galaxy, but that's just one galaxy, and there are billions of galaxies. The nearest galaxy to our Milky Way is called the Andromeda Galaxy, and of course there are all sorts of gloom and doom merchants, because in 4 to 6 billion years from now, which is, you remember that, won't you? And I say, yeah. These two galaxies are going to collide, and what's going to happen? The end of the world? No, they just slide through each other, because most of the galaxies in the universe are empty space. If you think about our solar system, there's a lot of empty space between rocks.
It is interesting when you think about our lifetime. I mean, seeing somebody leave the Earth for the first time, seeing somebody walk on the moon for the first time, losing Pluto as a planet after memorizing it. I mean, look at all the changes that have happened.
Don't be too depressed, because there may be a new extra planet. They're looking for the extra planet. And then, of course, you have to ask yourself, what's the definition of a planet? Is it a frozen gas like Saturn and Jupiter, or is it a rock like Venus and Mars and Earth? And so the definition of planet and its size, so the moon, if it wasn't going around the Earth, would actually be a planet-sized object if it was going around the sun on its own. And so they believe there's another planet out there, but it's so far, and this is the exciting thing about the solar system, is our planets that we can see, like Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Earth. These 4 rocky planets are very close to the sun. And then there's an enormous gap between the giant planets of Saturn and Jupiter, and then even more space before you get to the other outer planets. So the definition of what's a planet and what's just a rock in the general vicinity of the solar system is quite interesting.
When did you get interested in this? And why?
Good question. I was always curious to know how the moon came about, and I actually am a supporter of the theory that it was a rogue planet in the early days of the solar system which passed by, hit the Earth and tore lumps out of the Earth and created a molten mass which then solidified, and Earth's gravity held it in position. Not everybody subscribes to that theory. Some people think it was a passing small planet that was attracted by Earth's gravity and held in place. But the whole concept of gravity, Isaac Newton and then Einstein developed, is fascinating, because it's the most powerful force in the universe, and it holds everything in place. So when you look at the night sky and you see Mars, little red dot, and then the white bigger dot of Venus, and then you start to think, you know, this is a planet. This is Venus is roughly the same size as Earth. It's often called Earth's evil twin, but it can't live on that planet because of its temperature and its atmosphere. But nevertheless, you're looking at another planet which is a similar size to Earth, and it puts things in perspective. And then you see the giant planets, and they're just little specks. And then you say, well, how can there be little specks? How can they be so big if they're little specks to us? And it's because they're so far away.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be really interesting as always. So I hope you can join us for a short history of the planet Earth, and you can sign up right at the class.